Hello.
Wow, we're here.
Welcome. I am so excited.
Very excited. I couldn't agree more.
So let's introduce ourselves. This is the Queer Cinema Review Podcast.
Yes, Queer Films Revisited.
And where we do a deep dive into the films and
the actors and what was going on at that time and just in general, and also kind of a relook at our reviews.
Yes, and that's the main point of how this all came to be, is we've been doing these movie reviews for
on our channel for
almost 4 years.
Almost now. 4 years now. Candice,
M, and we are
partners in crime in many ways.
Many ways. And what a perfect movie.
Yes.
To what a perfect movie to first start talking about heavenly creatures.
Yeah.
This is a movie by Peter Jackson.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, man. We were watching interviews with him talking about it, and instantly I was like, I did not know he was from New Zealand. Like, the accent immediately came out.
He's from Ireland.
Okay, let's just say I didn't know he wasn't American.
There we go. I was like, I'm pretty sure they're talking about being Irish.
Okay, cool. Missed that point then. But that was cool to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, him and his writing partner, one of them, did we get their names all written down? That's okay.
Yes.
His writing partner was very interested in this story.
Yes, they were fascinated with the true crime.
This is a true story. This is
a true story of two girls in New Zealand in the 50s. Yeah. Who developed a very close and intense and imaginative relationship. Yeah.
And
which led to criminal.
I just the image of Melanie Lynskey and that scold she has on, it's so good.
Melanie, first
of all,
their acting debuts, like
both of them,
Peter Jackson film, and then this amazing, so what's funny is both of us rewatching it.
Yeah,
it's like
we watched it again last night.
Yeah, seeing the difference, you know what I mean? Actually looking at it, because
compared to the first time we saw it.
Yeah, I felt way more appreciative of their performances and of the directing, and just kind of actually what they did with the stories of these two young girls. The respect I feel that they showed towards their story.
Right. Yeah, Peter Jackson was talking about how they were just trying to make sure it wasn't a sensationalized love story.
Yeah, they did research all throughout the area, interviewing anyone who went to school with them, teachers, neighbors, everything, to really get a full understanding of what it was kind of really like at that time, what they were like. They had Pauline, who's played by Melanie Lynskey. They had her diaries and her journals, which are the voiceovers.
The voiceovers in the film are actually
from her journal.
Read from her journal, and
that's fascinating because they're so intense.
He said he got to read the journals, and so just to get inside their mind, and it's I feel like I thought the first time it was going to be a little bit more like The Labyrinth, and I think that's kind of was my takeaway, but it wasn't.
No,
not at all.
No, it's kind of that thing where, you can develop those really intense, passionate friendships, as they discuss them having, but that story of is it a story of I don't know, queer love or mental health issues. I'm not really sure, but
that is
both of them.
It's as I watched it again, I realized this isn't as gay as I thought it was. Like, I remember the first time I was like, oh my God, it's such a lesbian movie. And then watching again, I was like, these are just very troubled girls who really found comfort in each other, which can still, that doesn't negate their sexuality.
Right.
So where did this story originate?
In New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Christchurch,
New Zealand, 1950s. Yeah.
And the film opens with like one of those come visit Christchurch ads, you know, and
that was brilliant, and I totally forgot about that.
It really set the scene of like what was acceptable at that time, kind of the prim and proper, the like status quo, and then I mean my favorite, then immediately cut to Lynskey, and that scowl, like, I mean, like, he must have just been so excited,
right? Because he said he was searching for a girl who actually looked like
and she
Pauline,
like a total spot on ringer, and had the scowl, like, and it's like you knew moments where they were meeting up with like actual like footage when, for instance, like one of the school photos, like her hair was quite a little bit bigger, and I was like, because I bet if we pull up the photo,
the actual school photo, it will look just like what they did in the movie. They did such a good job in this film to really retell this story. Let's see. The cast was chosen by Peter Jackson, and it was, I loved that the first search was for Pauline.
Yes.
He went and actually sought like schoolgirls and like actually went to like looking for not like actors, but actually went and found.
Yeah, it's why I think it's probably both their debuts.
And then he said like over 150 girls auditioned for Juliet.
Yeah.
And Kate Winslet's performance was so... It's because I was reading a lot about it. It's so good. She's so passionate, and I literally am seeing. I'm like, this is how she got Titanic. This is how she got to
100%.
This is her first film, and she is just, from the moment she comes in, the way she holds her face.
Yeah, I have to so sorry. I'm just grabbing my notebook for. Please go on, but I have, like, she said one of my favorite lines in the film.
Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
Yeah, she, the way she held her face was so not normal. It really showed you, like, there was something going on inside this girl's head.
It gives you curiosity, but also a bit of, like, kind of chills down your back. You know what I mean?
It's terrifying.
Exactly. Her line was, I'm going to the fourth world. It's like heaven, only better because there's no Christians there. And that was like I was like, okay, so this,
you get it.
Yeah. Like, and it was just that thing of like, then we were introduced to this whole new world. Like, I mean, the story's fantastical. You know, it is these two young troubled girls who definitely find
they have
escape.
They have this connection because they both were ill as children, and so I love that scene where Juliet like leans over and she's like, let me see it. Yeah, she pulls up, Paulette pulls up her leg, and she has this huge scar, and she like leans in to touch it, and she's like, ooh,
yeah. Oh, it's so good.
It's so good, but she's so obsessed with the pain and just the experience. And so Juliet had lung problems.
Yeah, she had tuberculosis, right?
She in the film she ends up having to kind of be isolated for a little bit, which really made me confused about tuberculosis. I was like, they're saying they're contagious, but everyone can just be in the open house. Yeah, so I wasn't sure if this was like you have to cough the blood up into
someone's mouth, but I don't know. I will plead ignorance on that. But yes, I was a little as well. I was like, oh, okay.
So let's see where the post. So what was the budget? I actually heard him say it was $7 million.
Wow.
He said, but that's actually pretty average in New Zealand. I guess they don't get a lot of
And maybe at that time as well.
Right.
Because the interview was quite old as well.
Yeah, but he did say it was a very small budget. He's like, it was not a lot. So
that is a small budget. Yeah.
Post-production, they talked about how they actually did special effects. And so that was really cool watching it again. And like, they have this scene where they're like at the beach building this sandcastle, and they like, the camera goes into the sandcastle, and you actually get like what you would always want as a kid to, you're building these sandcastles. They actually were able to take cameras and like move you through them and go up the stairs and go around.
Because they used models and they actually scaled things. That's what was great is I think they said there's like 31 frames that are actually like computer like manipulated, and everything else is like those models are actors in rubberized suits, like you know what I mean. So it's like it's in camera, like these are real things, so it looks way better, you know. He said because it looks pretty obvious when it's green screen.
It does, no, and I really appreciated what he did with these creating this world and bringing it to an accessible place, like you said, not green screen, not all CGI. All the actors inside the rubber suits were, he said, like 16-year-old girls, because they were the only people who could have that stamina, because once you put the suit on, like there was no oxygen, like they had to like be forcing like air tubes in there to like give them fresh air, and so they said the only people that were able to keep up with that. So just this funny little
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
That was
it's another, it's what I love about these films is the budget, so the care that goes into it. Do you know what I mean? Like
when you don't have a lot of money,
but you have the vision, so it's like, no, they can't do like, you know, special effects like, you know, Star Wars or anything like that. No. But the models they made were just fantastic, and the way like because the, you know, the few transitions of like them coming in and out of the
world,
the world, and it's like you can see like just where it's like, oh, those are the ones that are like enhanced or something like that, but because of the way that they interacted together so well, and then that they were real actors, you almost kind of forgot you were in this fantasy world, and you were kind of in the world of these two girls, and that's what he brought, I think, you as the viewer into. He succeeded at bringing you into their mind, which is a very fascinating thing when they're pretty strange. There you go. And he did that. That was I realized, like, and also, sorry, like what I loved is like the montage of their friendship developing. The camera movements were so erratic.
The camera movements, right? Yeah, you noted that this last time of the way everything's moving so quickly. It's very much in a manic episode of just them falling further into this fantasy world with each other, and I just loved the way, like Pauline like fell in love with Juliet because she immediately was like against authority and like given lip. She's like, who is this girl? I like her. That scowl was so.
I quite like your drawing.
Oh my god! So good. So good.
Yeah.
It was. What's funny is we watched we watched our review again to kind of see how.
Yeah.
So our original thoughts, I was much more weirded out the first time. I thought it was so strange. I was like, I don't know. I was kind of lost. Like, it was really interesting going back and seeing, because that was, we watched that August 2020.
Right.
And so just where my head was at and where I feel like I've just become, I don't know, because I just didn't understand the film at all. It was, but this time through was much more, I got the story right from the get. And that felt really nice.
Like, I think what I didn't realize before, that is so big is he created this. I mean, he brought this world to life, like, and not just their relationship, like the environment they were both in, like, you know, Pauline being in the boarding house and, you know, being susceptible to, you know, really predatory people, you know, and so
there's all these young boys coming and staying in and out.
Yeah, and so like he showed like what her excuse me, what her he showed like what her experience was. And then with Juliet, like, you know, with the family, like the like disinterested professor father and the mom who's, you know, cheating on them essentially. And it's like so it wasn't just them, like, you know what I mean? And then the way the schools were.
He did a really fantastic job at building up what was going on around them, and it didn't feel like he was trying to make it out to be like, wow, these girls had everything at their fingertips and just threw it away. And it's like, no, they weren't well, and they eventually their parents are trying to split them up.
Yes, because they, you know, it is still at that time, I think, a mental illness, you know, to be homosexual. And so they're seeing, you know, they, you know, at first endeared by how enamored they are with one another and everything. But as they start to actually see it physically develop, you know, seeing them being more physically affectionate and things like that, it's, you know, I think, and even then, again, creating the world, we know, because Peter Jackson showed that Juliet's father is this professor who has to meet the status quo of like appearance for the marriage council. And it's like, so because we know that, there's just, we know the pressures everyone are under. So he's like, we can't have this. It's reflecting us bad, you know? So it's like, everything's understood. You're not like, why are the parents freaking out?
Right. And even Paulette's parents are just kind of, you know, Paulette's acting out. Pauline. Yeah. It's not Paulette. Yeah. I've been calling her Paulette, I think.
Not the whole time.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Oops. Well, Pauline. Yeah. I'll just call her Paul, because that's what they call her in the movie.
Yeah.
So just seeing, you know, she is kind of acting out, but she disassociates a lot and is able to kind of just continue this fantasy world where she just the worlds aren't really connecting. Like, it's amazing in the way they are able to create the final scene, like we were talking about in the review of, it feels like it just ends, and the first shot from the film is actually technically should be the end of the story, but
a little coming up, if you will,
but at the end of the film we don't get to repeat that scene, so it kind of ends in their disassociation, and just kind of what they thought they were doing, and
they thought they had successfully pulled it off, that this was an accident. And, you know, again, the leading of like, I, you know, not really paying attention perhaps so closely when I was younger, but just more like, if you aren't absorbing and just observing, it's a little like, wait, what? You know, but if you're actually paying attention and you're like understanding where these girls are coming from, how they disassociate because how they've had these serious medical issues that they've been in hospitals for months or years at a time. And so what they find in one another, it's like, because he creates all that, I'm able to be like, okay. And it actually like captivated me this time. And I was like really impressed with it. Still, is it a movie that where I'd be like, oh, hey, like Heavenly Creatures, I'd be like, oh,
Heavenly Creatures is on, you want to watch it?
No. But it's I mean,
I really
it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, same year as Forrest Gump. That's impressive.
Which is very impressive, because that obviously was a time when there was some...
I mean, it's kind of like Past Lives being nominated right along with Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Just like these
right.
quintessential, just true stories brought to screen, where you're like, no matter...
It's good. It's as good as these huge epic blockbusters, because it's like a true story sometimes can be that. And I've really enjoyed seeing how much true stories are actually the basis of most good films.
Yeah, that's definitely something we've uncovered, is a lot of the ones that we're really partial to come from some form of life of the writer or director or something. Yeah.
Shockingly, like way more than I thought.
Right. And like for this one, where I was interested, because that's where I was a little skeptical, is Peter Jackson but his writing partner's interest and fascination with this story their whole life.
Right, because she said she was 10 years old when this happened, and so it was just something that was very...
present, I imagine.
Right. So apparently this is a story that everybody knows of. It's very common knowledge of what happened. And so in the review, I compared it to... I said it was like the movie 13 and the story of the Slender Man girls who murdered some little girl. And because it's that awful, and but in the same way that the movie 13 has this sort of like fantastical way that these girls are so entwined, and it's a little less about them being queer together. And I think they actually share a lot of the similar energy of...
I would agree with that.
Even though, they're being intimate, she's writing about it. I love where they're talking about how, they showed each other what each one of their characters would make love like.
Yes.
And so they're like, it was a long night. I was like, I bet. It has... That's the thing, is
it was directed so well.
That's what I mean, is it's not this like sensationalized, like, ooh, two young girls hooking up. It's like, no, they were in this. They didn't even call each other Paul and Juliet.
I was going to say Juliet.
Gina.
And
Gina called, so Paul was Gina and Deborah.
That's right. Name. That's right. Gina and Deborah. That's right. Yeah. No, it just, like I said, very fantastical. It evolved into a, and again, that is the evolution of the feeling of being, as their parents are concerned, they're trying to separate them. They now have developed this very unhealthy attachment to one another, and a bit of a escapist.
That is definitely what that is. And it reminded me of friends that I would hang out with when I was like maybe like more like 7 and 8, and I had those friends who would try and like kiss me and stuff, and I'm like, oh no I don't want to play that game with you right now, no thank you. So I understand what's happening. It's not totally out of place, but
I'm trying to kiss you.
No, I was way too uncomfortable. Probably too aware and self-aware and unaware. But it's so our original score was actually just 2 thumbs. Like we kind of doubled down on that, in that of like, this is just 2 thumbs. It doesn't need more. And where are you at now?
I'm gonna give it 4 out of 4. I mean, for me,
seriously, no, literally, I was like, it is literally samesies. I was like, this is, an amazing.
It's
movie.
An amazing film.
Like, literally, we were watching it, and I'm sitting there like, God, where was my head at and my self-awareness at? Because I'm watching this just like, this is an amazing film.
It's an amazing film. And again, the fact that the voiceovers are actual quotes and things
from entries.
Thank you, from Pauline's journal. Like, is just it's just fascinating, and just it's remarkable, because it's like it only lends to the story. He didn't, he literally was bringing their story to the screen, just to life. It was written there for him to do.
It was all written out. That girl incriminated herself.
Yes, that. I mean, and that,
the day of the death, the happy day, the day of the happy event.
As they saw her mom being she suffered the target of thinking she was the reason they were being separated. In all actuality, it was Juliet's dad, the professor, who was really facing the pressure of like his work and stuff like that.
True. And and not to mention that Juliet's is that what you were saying, Juliet's parents? Yeah, because I was like, he has to move and go all over the place. And so, but when you're 15, this is it. This is everything. There's nothing more real than that love and that friendship. And so, I mean, the way she plans this out is so horrific.
Yeah. No.
It's scary. It's scary. You and I both turned away from the screen because it is so horrifying.
Because this mom is like also the sweetest, like trying best as she can mom.
It's horrifying.
That was hard to stomach, because it was because
this woman did not deserve
45 fucking, they hit her over the head
45 times with a brick and a stocking.
Yeah, because they felt she was who was trying to separate them. And they're 15, they have nothing to their name, they're both living with their parents, and so it was it was Pauline's journal entries that made the case solved rather quickly, that it wasn't an accident. She
didn't look like one,
but they had thought that they were going to be able to say this was an accident.
The girls tried to go into like a insanity plea.
Yes, they did,
but because they actually, that wasn't approved, like it
was denied because it was premeditated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But because of that, they only spent 5 years in prison.
Yeah.
And then they both were released and allowed to change their names. Juliet went to go back with her parents, and then became a crime fiction
novelist.
Young adult
novelist. Can't imagine where
this all comes from.
She's like
personal experience.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild. And it wasn't really until this movie came out, she actually went and did interviews.
Yes, it's almost like Baby Reindeer.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's like the lady in Baby Reindeer.
Yeah.
She's like, it's my time to shine. I'm ready to go on TV. It's like, that's how you know this person is not mentally well, because they're like, you've aired all my dirty laundry. It's my time.
Like, the fact that it was one of the things specified is by the judge was that they're to never meet again. You know what I mean? Like, to express the intensity that
if you guys are let out of jail, you can never meet up again. And of course, like, I love Peter Jackson. He's like, there's no way to like enforce that, but it was an important enough note to put that in their release.
I appreciated watching that interview because it really put I didn't quite understand all the footnotes at the end, and that being one of them. Like, Juliet was released several weeks earlier than Pauline because they sent her.
They wanted to make sure they were actually separated.
Correct. And so Juliet had to leave the country immediately to join her parents in England, and Pauline actually was paroled in New Zealand, so she could not leave the country for like I think a few
6
years.
Yeah.
So
she never came out.
Yeah, she
didn't want the fame afterwards.
Exactly. He said, they have their information, but because she's never come out, it's not anything they're choosing to
looking to.
Yeah, which I thought was super respectful. I thought that was really awesome.
It was really nice because this could be a really awful glorification of a horrible event, but they did such a good job that it's this film, it's this cinema of like,
yes,
of no, these girls had a world that was bigger than anyone could understand, and it was more real. It was so real to them that one of the girls murdered her mother, and her friend helped happily.
Yes,
that is a fantastical world, and so I'm just really impressed that the filmmakers and the screenwriters really put their care and concern into bringing the story to life,
right?
Because you've talked about that. You want to write a film based on a true crime event that you didn't experience, but it came across you, enough in your time too.
I've come across this story several times, and each time it just is a horrific event, but has, those pretty heroic moments where you're like, damn, that happened, but they did that. And it's like, I don't.
Are you going to talk about what story it is a little bit? Or you can keep that to yourself?
Just
share.
Yeah. I was like,
people will know one day.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that film.
But so with this one, again, it's just kind of really, there's always different sides to things. You know what I mean? And so I think Heavenly Creatures, which we find out is something she coined herself in her journal. Right.
She called themselves Heavenly Creatures because they had access to the fourth world.
That only they could see. They had their brains had developed to where only they could see
it. That was really
Yeah.
fascinating, listening to that journal entry of literally Pauline's explaining how she feels. She's like, it's very narcissistic in ways of thinking like, we're just more intelligent than everybody else.
Yes.
And then she comes around, she's like, no, that's not it. Our brains just have this part that can see this world that other people can't.
Yes.
And it was being reminded that they say that they can only access it for 2 days a year. And so, but they're only like friends for like 2 years. So I did think that was a little interesting, and like access to actually where they can see it, which made me realize they aren't going to this world all the time.
Right.
The first time I watched it, I was like, oh my God, they're just in this fantasy world the whole time. And that's not true.
Right.
It's actually so much more about their real relationship, going to each other's houses and having dinner with their families and, them getting sick and going and being hospitalized. And so there was so much more than just the fantasy aspect. And that makes sense because if they can access it all the time.
Right. And I think they were able to go in for those. I didn't recall that, but I think they were able to access it, like go there, but they lived in it. Do you know what I mean? Right. Like by calling one another Deborah and Gina they
role played constantly.
Exactly.
But them actually going into that world, she said, they were only able to do it on the day that Christ died. Like just those things of like, oh, I did not remember so much of this details. And so it's
really good.
It's really good. It's a movie that if it was ever to be like screened and talked about, like it's something like that for sure. I didn't see it in theaters. Like if it somehow were re-released in theaters, I'd be like, oh well, let's go check out this terrifying movie on the big screen. You know what I mean? I'd be like,
I can't hear this, but you know, it great film. And then just kind of also like where we were at, right? Like,
so yeah, I mean,
oh right, comments.
Yeah, we can pull those up. I can just pull those up on here, but I figured like we can go to those at the end. But no, I think it was a natural flow. So where were we at when we first saw the film?
So, God,
you said you saw it in like 90.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's. I think I first saw it in Houston when I was 18 years old, and I was working at this like independent video store. So we had these films like in stock, and so it was like trying to like buff up my like movie knowledge, and I was like, oh, so it totally went straight over my head.
Did somebody ever suggest it to you, or it was like you saw the box cover? And
I think it was
Kate Winslet had already come out in Titanic when you saw this.
I believe so. Yeah, it wasn't. I did not know who she was.
Right. So to see, it's so funny because, you know, we were together like 8 or 9 years literally before ever watching this, and so it's so funny because I'm like, I did not know what this box cover was. I saw it, to me it was like some sort of like
for years
crime detective. She was like an older, like she looks so grown up. You were noting while we were watching it that Kate Winslet like goes through this growth spurt.
Yes, it does
in the film. Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, the film starts where her hair is this short. Yeah, and by the end of it, it's actually a year's length grown out. So,
when it first starts, she looks like a little young baby girl. Yeah, and then when it like cuts to at a different point, and I'm like, oh, you see, like Kate Winslet, like who did like you know, who did Titanic, you know what I mean? So it almost looks like her show she has on HBO Max now, like Mayor of East Island or something like that. And where she is like a detective.
No, okay, so I'm not like totally
and it looks like there's another cover box, like it's very back in the day, like there was Ashley Judd crime. It's very much so like it's either
I thought it was like
Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington, or
right, so that's
Ashley
the
Judd,
exact
Morgan Freeman,
that I really thought it was. And so when you were kind of telling me about it, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then when we watched it, I was truly floored, flabbergasted, absolutely gooped, gagged, and plucked.
That'd be an accurate reaction to the first time seeing Heavenly Creatures. Like, yeah.
It shocked me so much I couldn't remember the movie.
Because there's not... That's a really good... Right. The shock of it can kind of erase the movie, you know? And I think it did that for me as well, you know? And it's like kind of to where I'm like, ooh, wait. And so it just honestly was so confusing that I really didn't watch it a lot. But...
Yeah,
you know.
We were, was the pandemic. It was 2020, August, when we decided to start doing this. And this was the first one we watched. That's so funny. I don't know if this was, yeah, I think it must have just been like, hey, we should review movies. And I love that you're like, I know the first film we should watch.
Heavenly Creatures.
And
yeah.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up for sure. I think it's only gotten better as I've grown and been able to mature and understand things more. So I'm able to understand the scale of the film, you know. I mean, it's amazing. And I mean, the debut, this is their debut acting, like that's amazing. That's just amazing. These two women are amazing actresses, and that only goes to show how strong and relevant they have stayed over
Melanie Lynskey. What's
20
funny
years.
is, as we were watching it last night, I just kept thinking about her
30 years,
her role in Sweet Home Alabama, and just how just totally different.
Mm-hmm.
She got a baby in a
Coyote
bar.
Ugly. The Jersey Girl.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, she is in everything. I love the Melanie Lynskey playlist.
Yeah.
We have so many good ones. She better be. Coyote Ugly better be in that playlist.
You know, I don't know, because she is just in everything. And she's just amazing. Yes, exactly. Jersey Girl from Coyote Ugly, Southern Girl from, and it's like all of them are slightly New Zealand accents.
Yeah. Yeah, she always does.
Got a baby in a bar.
I love Melanie Lynskey, and she was the first connection. She's the first.
Sorry.
What's funny is knowing, we'll talk more about it when we do the But I'm a Cheerleader episode, but just hearing that she got that role because of Heavenly Creatures, and so it's like she's not even gay, but she just got swooped right up into this like gay world, this film world, and she and
I don't think she's ever been upset about it.
I don't think she's upset about it at all.
No, I think she never came back. I think once Heavenly Creatures came out, I think she said she just stayed in America and just continued to act.
And we are so lucky.
Yeah, we really are. She's amazing. Just amazing. Like anything she's in, she always, like freaking Yellow Jackets. Come on.
I mean, come on. Yellow Jackets is
amazing,
so
right?
good.
Yeah.
Like, I was so excited to see that she was a lead in a new show.
Yeah.
Again, another queer thing that she's not necessarily queer in it, but it's a queer.
Along Christina Ricci, like another not queer, but just amazing. Yeah. Right.
God, it's so good.
So good. Yeah. So no, Melanie Lynskey is phenomenal actress. I mean, starting out with Heavenly Creatures, like these two, like, and I love that neither of them like throw shade at this film. Like they both are happy with it and everything, and I think that that's really cool. Like
it's one they're very proud of. They really strongly stood behind it and helped like promote it, and
and I mean, good on them. I mean, Oscar nominated. That's pretty amazing.
Oscar nominated. Best original screenplay.
Yes, for that. So.
Well,
what else do we have coming up?
So we have just kind of the end of the discussion. So, we thought of doing.
What else you got?
We thought of doing like a game of Guess Who. I wasn't sure. Realized I was like, it's not funny.
No, so maybe there's some games, sort of some ideas. Episodes, some games, some episodes. You just.
I think we should. I think we'll find our
the waters.
Exactly. This is just the first episode. We have been, really prepping for this podcast. So.
Yeah, very excited to do this. Like, it's, our reviews were really kind of just like glancing over things, and it's like we both love film, and it's like
we just want to sit and talk about what the director talked about, why it was written, spending 45 minutes just going on and on about the film, and that wasn't really a movie review.
No.
So it just kind of, I'm really glad that we got to this point that we're like, let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because film is so important to us. And so I know there are other people out there who are just hungry for more discussions about film. And we're trying to bring movies that maybe people haven't seen.
Right. Or maybe had the same perspective we originally did, where it's kind of like, oh, that movie, I'm not trying to watch that.
Correct.
And it's like, oh, well, maybe let me give it another view. And it's like, it's really fucking good.
reviews and memories of movies are not accurate.
Right.
Just a little,
things
inaccurate.
we got wrong.
Things we got wrong.
Well, or not necessarily inaccurate, but as our good friend, it's a summary where you're like, oh,
that's a way to take
it. We were talking about Forrest Gump, and they said, I mean, essentially, it's just a movie about a guy running and making friends. And I was like, oh. The fact is, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Would Robert Zemeckis appreciate that? No, and it's like, he's not wrong.
A guy running.
The graphics, everything. So, I mean, it was groundbreaking film.
And so that. So a review for Heavenly Creatures in the same essence is just, there's just two girls who are just having a friendship and just trying to dream for a better future. That's all, essentially just like two girls who are just upset they were told no. Basically, it's just it's just a movie about girls told no.
Yeah, they just didn't like it,
and it's just two besties,
two besties, just kicking it, and then someone said stop, and they said die. That's just really what it comes down to.
So, sometimes that's all you get to take away
and
from the first time. And it's not wrong.
Right.
But I want to go back through the movies and see, wow, there's so much more to it. And Heavenly Creatures is a film worth talking about. Yeah. And how it was created, how it was filmed, how it was cast.
The respect that was actually given to these women's stories is something that I appreciate.
I appreciate very much. Apparently, Peter Jackson was known for his horror.
Comedic horror.
Oh, did he say comedic?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Yeah.
I heard
gory. Gory and comedic, probably really cheesy horror kind of stuff.
So I love that. I love that because just because you make something in one style does not mean you can't.
Which means he
pivot.
Probably brought the intensity, and that's where the intensity that lies in this film.
He knew, no, these girls are going to be covered in blood. You know what? Can you run at the camera and scream at the camera?
We want to really feel it.
They take. I feel like they take. What's the word I'm trying to say? Risks on the way it was filmed, and
they really did.
The direction. It's good.
No,
to say the least.
Definitely was worth a revisit, and that's the whole point of this.
That's why we wanted to do Queer Films Revisited, because I feel like anytime I check out our old let me pull up some. Let me go ahead and get I can
just gonna look at some of those comments.
We want to pull up the comments from our videos. Let's see. All right, so the first comment we have is the Starfighter Review 699. He has responded to several of our reviews over the years, and it just says thanks.
Yes.
And you know what, Starfighter Reviews? Thanks.
Thank you. Agreed. The gratitude is both ways.
We have one that says, as an Aussie, I endorse and love this film. It does not get love.
And I think we've really, by revisiting it, acknowledged that.
Angelic Wings 1. I agree.
Yeah.
I that's what I'm so excited about. Truly, I love just if any of our friends told us, we're like, hey, I checked out Heavenly Creatures. What the fuck was that? That was a crazy movie. Yeah. Be like, somebody watched it because of us. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
that's pretty crazy.
The best one. So it's Liz the Best 889 said, I remember we did a stage version of this at school in year 12, which is.
Would love to have seen that.
Yeah, Liz, can we get the footage of this?
stage version of Heavenly Creatures.
What parents were recording this in the audience and they're just like, honey, what plays our daughter in?
Right. I was like, was this a like School of the Arts? Like, you know, they're like, no, that's amazing. And it just really made me happy to know.
Stage film in year 12. So like in high school.
Yep. Yeah, no,
so
that's
good.
Very impressive.
Oh, and then we gotta thank Logic and Reasoning 9744 said, can't hear you. And you know what? It was our first review.
Yeah, and
I think we were literally.
I think we also just watched it and
also just watched it. Could hear us just fine.
Yeah, so sometimes volume buttons are difficult.
It is hard sometimes for people to know that the problem may be on their end.
Yes, or
but they
sometimes are glitches, and hey, I appreciate that because it's like, well,
how else would we know?
Exactly.
So those are the comments.
The stage show is like, or stage production is just my favorite.
Right. That.
Yeah. I was like, oh, snap. So we'll have to look into that.
We'll do YouTube,
queer films turned plays. That'll be our next one.
That should be good. We should do that. We should go like see queer plays and
let's keep with this, and then we'll do that. After 3.5 years of this, then we can start that.
I'm excited. Yeah. I think this has potential for all the time.
Agreed.
All the years. Yeah. So this was episode 1.
Episode 1, Heavenly Creatures. Queer Films Revisited, reviewing our queer cinema reviews. So,
and brought to you by
Anything Said Productions.
And so, I haven't gotten the audio in here yet. So do you want to just boopity boop boop out?
Boopity boop boop out. Post ad, maybe something to it.
We got an ad.
Yeah.
Here's where an ad would go.
Here's where an ad would go if we had an ad, which hopefully one day will be something to do with donuts and coffee.
Sponsorships. I would love to be a part of one day.
I would love to be a part of one of this one day. Exactly.
Yeah.
So but Candice, Anything Said Productions.
Candice, and we're just here to rock and re-review these movies. So
I like it.
Heavenly Creatures, check it out. I hope you can find it. It's worth the watch.
Definitely worth the watch. Bye.